Hello and welcome back to the stars, everybody. Welcome back to Starfield. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Magshot pistol. This is one of the strongest pistols in the entire game. It's probably going to be one of the last pistols that you get, or at least towards the latter half of the game compared to the other pistols. And this one's a pretty cool revolver-like pistol. I guess it is a revolver. So for the base stats of the Magshot, this one comes in at 53 damage per shot, which is very high for a handgun. That's actually the highest out of any of the ballistic handguns, and I believe any besides maybe the Star Shard, at least in terms of just base damage. The Razorback comes very close to this one too, so with mods they can actually fluctuate quite a bit. This one uses the 43 MI array round, which is the only gun that actually uses that round. There is no other weapon that uses it, so this weapon is always going to have a niche, regardless of how good or bad it is, because it's not competing with anything else, at least in terms of ammo, so you can always have it on your person. Pistols are kind of nice for that too because they don't weigh very much. This one holds 6 shots like a proper revolver, although technically it fires out 3 shots every time you shoot it, so that's a little bit different. This one has a 25 rate of fire, which is pretty good. You can actually shoot this one fast enough. It doesn't shoot as fast as some of the other handguns, but it's still pretty good, and with the amount of recoil that this one has per shot, the rate of fire feels perfectly fine to me. This has 20 meters of range, just like the majority of the handguns. This one is okay in terms of accuracy. It's actually pretty good because it does fire out 3 shots, so long as you're aiming center of mass, you'll usually hit with all 3. That's pretty nice. And this one weighs 2 weight. So it is one of the heftier handguns, but not all that hefty compared to other weapons. So if you see these, grab them because they are worth a lot of money too. So that's always something nice to see. For the major pros of this weapon, it does high damage per shot and high damage per second. That is really nice. It's also got decently long range as well. It is a powerful Magnum style of gun, similar to like the 44 Magnum in the Fallout series, whether that be Fallout 3, New Vegas, honestly any of the Fallouts really, they've all had the 44 be pretty strong. This one feels very much like it fits that role. The only real cons for this weapon is that the gun itself is kind of rare. You don't find mag shots too often usually. Sometimes you can find them all over the place. Sometimes they're in boxes, sometimes they're in chests, sometimes they're in crates. Sometimes they're on different mercenaries that might have these, but they're not one of the more rare handguns overall to actually find. They also kind of have rare-ish ammo, although they are the only weapon using this ammo, so if you do find traders that are selling it, you won't have to worry about splitting this amongst anything else. It will only go to the Magshot, so that is a nice bonus. And other than that, I can't really think of any other major cons. This kind of ticks all the boxes you would want in a handgun or in a Magnum-style weapon. And on my handgun tier list, I did put this one up into S tier, and I think it does belong into S tier. Even just the base Magshot is surprisingly good. It is very consistent. It's basically everything that I want in a handgun. It has good enough range, it does high damage, it doesn't fire too slow, ammo isn't usually an issue, reload speed is fine, everything about it is either fine or very much above average. Let's move on to a modded version and where I'd put that on the tier list, as well as what mods I would take. So very first up, for our barrel, we have 2 options, either a long barrel or magnetic rails. Both these are pretty good. I put magnetic rails on my gun because that one increases damage and rate of fire, which is pretty nice. I do like having rate of fire on this gun. It is pretty good then. Feels even more consistent. Long barrel is good though too if you want even longer range out of this. This handgun can actually get a decent amount of range with it, so pick whichever one you like. They're both really good. For a laser, you either have the base laser that's already on the gun, or you have the recon laser. Recon laser is a straight upgrade and gives you more stats, so throw that one on there if you can. If not, not a huge deal. Then for a muzzle, I really like the shock charge band. This one's pretty cool because it adds electricity to every shot that you fire, so you get even more damage on top of your already existing damage. If you can't get that because it requires too much either material or skill investment, you could always go with the muzzle brake or the compensator. Both of them are pretty decent too. Then for a magazine and battery, I would say either go with the tactical magazine for a faster reload if you find that the reload speed is a little bit slow on this. I don't personally find it that slow, so it doesn't bother me. The one I usually go with is the depleted uranium rounds, which gives you the most amount of damage and the most amount of armor piercing, as well as gives you even longer range, which is pretty cool. I prefer that over anything else. Again, the tac mag isn't bad if you just want to reload faster. There is also armor piercing rounds on this, which if you can't get the depleted uranium rounds on there, then armor piercing is also pretty good. This just makes it more consistent for hitting like human enemies. Then for an internal, we actually just have 2. We have a hair trigger or we have high velocity. Hair trigger is faster rate of fire, and that's usually what I go with and what I'd recommend. High velocity is fine if you want to have this have even longer range, so if you're putting like the long barrel on this, plus depleted uranium rounds, plus high velocity, just to make this into like kind of a sniper pistol. Although even in that role, I don't think it actually fits very well because the Razorback already has a scope on it and can have similar stats to this, but have even longer range. So I'd recommend that one if you're going with a sniper pistol build, but this is okay enough for also a long range pistol build, and there's nothing saying you can't have both. And then for a receiver, you can either pick semi-automatic or fully automatic. I would recommend semi-auto in this. Full auto is really good at very, very close range. At longer ranges, I find that it feels very awkward with this weapon. And the main reason is just the recoil that you get from the full auto. It doesn't actually look that much when you're ADSing this. When you're firing it normally, it looks like you can keep it on target pretty well, and it doesn't bounce around that much. But in the actual game, it jumps higher than what it's perceived on your character. So usually if you're aiming like center of mass on something, you'll hit it once in the chest, probably hit it once in the head, and then every other shot is just going to go into the ceiling if you hold this down, which I really don't like. And when I have full auto, I just end up tap firing this like 2 rounds at a time, and that kind of works, but I'd still just rather have semi-auto where I can just reliably hit each shot. I don't really care for the full auto, although again, if you only want to use this at close range, it is really good at mag dumping into enemies and will deal tons of DPS to them. So I do understand the argument for that, and if you want to go with it, then by all means go for it. Then with all of these mods on here, I actually wouldn't really move the Magshot up or down a tier. I would still just keep it into S tier. I don't think it quite goes up to S+. I don't think it's as crazy as the guns that we do have up there, but it is just all around very solid overall. So whether you have it modded or not, it's going to be good, assuming that you're going with a pistol build, or assuming that you just want to have pistols in your build, then I would definitely recommend the Magshot. They are very, very good. Let's talk about the unique versions of them now, because we actually have 3 unique versions of the Magshot, interestingly enough, and some of these you can actually get really early on. The very first one that we have is the Keel Hauler. The Keel Hauler is probably going to be the one that takes the longest to get out of any of these guns, potentially, unless you rush the pirate quest. So the Keel Hauler you do get from doing the pirate quest. You have to get so far into it, and then Delgado gives you this, and this is always a legendary gun that always has the same 3 effects on it, as well as it does have some mods on it. So for the mods, this has a long barrel, a recon laser, a compensator, and it is fully automatic. So this one's kitted out pretty good for close range. Full auto is really fun with this at very close range, and it does actually have some effects that help it out more so with that. This one comes with 3 effects. This one comes with staggering, which makes it so you're more likely to stagger enemies. That one's always nice to see. You have Berserker on this, which makes it so you deal more damage the less amount of armor that you have. Now this is your total amount of armor, not just if you're not wearing like your helmet or not wearing your backpack. It's for your overall physical armor rating. Keep that in mind, so if you want to use like low level gear or less gear, this can give you more damage. I'm not a real big fan of Berserker, especially with a gun like this where you're generally going to want to be very up close with it. And this one also has Frenzy on it, which makes it so there's a chance to frenzy enemies, which will then attack other nearby enemies. Frenzy I find kind of unreliable, but it is cool that it has these effects, and staggering alone is quite good on this. My main complaint with the Keel Hauler is just that it's very difficult to keep on target if you're not using it at basically point blank range. At point blank range, it's very damaging and can do a lot of damage per second. At longer ranges, you're probably just going to want to tap fire this so that it fires out just like a 2-round burst. That works okay. For me personally, I usually take off the full auto and put it to semi-auto. That makes the Keel Hauler feel a lot more viable for me, a lot more normal for me, where I'm going to be using it at kind of medium range like I usually do with these handguns. If you don't like that though and you want to go full auto, then the Keel Hauler is a fantastic legendary option to get. Our second unique one is called the Mutineer. This one you actually get at Vladimir's house. So you have to get so far into the main story and then talk to Vlad, and he'll talk about his house. You'll get like a little side activity to go to his house, go over there, and then this is in the basement. It is locked away in an advanced lock, so you will need at least a couple of points into security to actually get into the room where this is. I don't think that there's any keys laying around. If there is, then I didn't find them when I was looking. This one has some mods on it, as well as one unique effect. So this one has the magnetic rails on it, it has a compensator, it has depleted uranium rounds in it, which is pretty cool, and it's full auto again, which again kind of is hard to control. I'm not a huge fan of the full auto Magshot, but you can always swap that out for semi-auto, and then it's pretty good. The one effect that this has, though, is sadly Space Adept, which again I would say is probably one of the weakest effects in the game. Space Adept makes it so that you get 30% more damage when you're in space and fighting in space combat. That is only on the pistol, not on everything. And then you get minus 15% damage whenever you're fighting on a planet. And the vast majority of fighting that you're going to be doing in this game is going to be on a planet. So most of the time, this is just a straight nerf to the weapon. The cool thing about this, though, is that if you do the main story, then you can get this very early on. much earlier on than you would normally be able to find Magshots. And then for our final unique Magshot, we have the Trickshot. And this one you find on Nira, and you find this in the one-of-a-kind salvage yard. This place you'll go to during the UC Vanguards quest, however, it's right at the very start of the game. It's literally like the planet that's right across from you. So if you do end up going there very early on, and just going to this place, you can grab it right away. And it's always in the same location. It is on top of a broken down mech. You have to climb up there, and then there's just a storage box, and this is in it. And this one is actually really cool. For the mods, this one has a compensator. It has depleted uranium rounds again. That's very nice to see. It has a hair trigger, and it has a really good legendary effect of skip shot. Skip shot makes it so that every 4th shot from any gun lets you fire another round on that 4th shot. So you get even more damage out of this. And like I said, you can go right to the planet and grab this right away. Your only issue then would just be finding ammo for this gun, but it would be an incredibly powerful gun to grab right at the very start. So overall, should you use the Magshot? Yes, absolutely. It's one of the best handguns in the game, so if you're not doing a very specific build where you're not using handguns, this one is going to be fantastic. Even if you are using a general purpose build and you're not really focusing on handguns, this one could still be very useful just carrying around so that you can pick off smaller enemies with it because it has a high enough base damage on it by default. It is probably one of the best handguns overall at kind of everything, and I really do like it for that role. Tell me your thoughts on the Magshot down in the comments below. I'd love to hear that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you next time. Till then, stay cool, and bye-bye, everyone!